Hello everybody, it's Renty back again, and I am going to be discussing the Isle of Man. In this section, I'll be discussing a video that Anthony Riley took from St. Bees whilst he looked over at the Isle of Man, in which he also captured Ireland. There's been a lot of debate about Anthony's observer height, and in this particular video, this is what we will be addressing. In particular, how irrelevant it actually is when considering the distances involved. In this particular piece of footage, we are looking at a landmass which is 145 miles away. Let's start with a piece of the video. So that was a brief part of the video, but it basically showed you a full span of the land masses captured looking from south through to north. Here is an image of St. Bees and the beach, and this is where Anthony Riley took his video from. As you can see, there are some caravans on the side of the hill, and the hill goes up in incremental slopes to the very top, which by all accounts has been measured to 30 meters in height. So now that we know the highest part of the hill that Anthony could have possibly been on, and we will say that that is 30 meters in elevation. So let's pretend for a moment that Anthony is at the top of this hill, and he is sitting at an elevation of 30 meters. Let's see how many elevations of 30 meters on top of his elevation of 30 meters he would actually have needed to be before he could see Douglas Apartments in Douglas. What I have done here is increase Anthony's elevation. I have placed 3 of these hills on top of each other to make a total height above sea level of 90 meters. At this height, it is just possible by the curvature calculations that he could capture the buildings on Douglas Head, primarily Douglas Apartments. This does still not take into account the fact that we are actually seeing right down, way below Douglas Apartments, but we'll just use this for a reference in any event. Next, we're going to move on to Langness Lighthouse. This is much further away, and it is 51.2 miles away to be exact. And to illustrate the height that Anthony would have to have been to view Langness Lighthouse, he would have needed 240 meters, or the equivalent of 8 of these hills. Put that into perspective, I'm just going to place Blackpool Tower to the side of these hills to give you an idea of scale. And now that we know that we're looking at Langness Lighthouse, in the background, that landmass in behind it can only be one thing, and that is Ireland at 145 miles away. Let's see what elevation Anthony on the Ball Earth model would have had to have been for him to see such a long distance. Starting with the height of Blackpool Tower, that is not high enough. Next we move to the Eiffel Tower, and that is not high enough. So we move on to the Macca Royal Clock Tower at 601 meters high, and that is still not high enough. So we go to the Shanghai Tower, 632 meters high, and that is not high enough. Finally, we go to the highest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa, at 828 meters, and that is still not high enough for Anthony to see over the curve of the earth and see Ireland. In fact, we have to put the Shanghai Tower, the second highest building in the world, on top of the Burj Khalifa, the highest building in the world, for Anthony to see the very tips of the mountains 145 miles away in Ireland. So the next time that a bowler comes to you and argues about a foot or a metre or 10 metres or 12 metres here or there, in respect to this observation, it means absolutely nothing. Thank you very much.